GT Holidays, South India's #1 travel brand.
GUVI, a vernacular edutech brand, skilling everyone everywhere.
Hello, Anand. Welcome to Kannada Plus.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And congrats on a great directorial debut.
Wonderful. Thank you.
I think now that it has come out on Amazon Prime, it's getting more traction. And I think,
it is. Yeah.
almost, when you combine the theatrical response and the OTT response, I think like 99% of the people, it's been positive.
It is. It's almost like having one more theatrical release. Like suddenly there's a buzz and we're like enjoying it.
Yeah, exactly. So this is going to be a spoiler-filled discussion, obviously. I want to start with how you decided on the number of characters for this, because we've often discussed about how it bears some similarities to 12 Angry Men, and of course you also drew from Asghar Farhadi's films. So what about this number, that the specific number of men and a woman?
I think we've discussed it before also. I don't know. I don't remember, but it's a funny story where usually a film happens where you bring out an idea, then a story happens, and then the casting happens. And so, but this happened entirely in a reverse, because I knew all these people, all the actors for 18 years, I suppose, because I was also an actor in a theatre group called Logadharmi. So apart from Zarin, Shihab, and Shahjahan Chetan, like all of them are like theatre actors whom I knew for some 18 years. So it so happened that we went for a one-day trip during the COVID times, and Vinay was the one who came to me and said that he would like to bring his friends. Like he's already an established actor in the Malayalam industry, so he wants to bring his friends who are great theatre actors into cinema. So he came and asked me, like, can you do a movie with these people as the cast? So the cast was decided. So the number of people who came for that particular one-day trip were all these people.
Oh, okay.
So the 11 were already there.
Yeah.
So now I had to weave a story with 11 men in it.
Yeah.
And then that's how it started off, because the cast was already there. So that's how the number happened, because they were it's a very silly story at the end of it. They were there for the trip. So Vinay asked me to, because I was already writing something else, like I was writing a different script. And when Vinay asked me like whether you can do something for our people, I was slightly taken aback, and I felt very guilty because I never thought of casting them in the movie that I was already writing.
Yeah.
So then I stopped that one, and I was thinking about how to write a movie where with all these 11 people involved, and I can't give them like insignificant characters.
Yeah.
The whole point of Vinay was to, where we can make a movie where we are able to showcase their talent, the actors, all the theatre actors. So then the thought came like, why not cast them to a role to which they have lived, or a zone where they really know and they have explored as. So let them play as theatre actors themselves. And then this whole thing, the first idea, the basic idea was, it started off this, what is the dynamics of a group versus an individual. So 11 men are already there, so that becomes a group of people. And then, so basically the individual, if it is a lady, if it is a woman, it becomes all the more interesting.
Yeah.
So that is how it came out, as like 11 men and one lady in it. And then one more character came in, which is Shahjahan Chetan's character.
Yeah.
So basically 12 men and one lady. So that is a huge coincidence where it went on to become the number 12, which is like where everyone now is saying about 12 Angry Men. And now, then also the story eventually turned out to become a chamber drama.
Yeah.
So then it really becomes very close. A chamber drama, 12 Angry Men is also a chamber drama. So here we have 12 men.
Yeah.
So that's how it came about. Yeah.
So normally, when a filmmaker or a scriptwriter writes a story, they're not thinking about, sometimes it's for the actors or a specific actor, or it's just writing the script and then deciding, who should play these characters. But in the case of Aatam, did you come up with these characters, based on these actors' age, their background, their appearance, and like what you can do to them, in terms of molding their on-screen personalities, and also the interesting thing is you used their real names.
Yeah. So I thought like because most of them, like almost 8 of them, were new to cinema, and I thought let's not make a huge fuss about asking them to do something that they're not, like characterizing too much. I thought I'd rather focus on the subject and the psychology of characters. So I thought like let them play themselves. Like 70% of it. They're not playing their perspectives. So something like this happened in their own life. They might not be doing these things, or their perspectives or their ideologies or their opinions might be different. But I thought, let them play. Like, that's how I said that, you play with your own names.
Yeah.
So they were given their own names, and most of them were given their own real life jobs as well. Like most of them, except for a few. So they can focus on the given parameters, like, what is the psychology that is, like, say if I take Selvan Jetton's character, so I tell him that this is your perspective, so you don't have to deliver the line in a very different accent, or you are not somebody else, you are this person, but there is this perspective that is attributed onto you by the screenwriter. Now you believe this and you play this the way you are.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I told the same thing to almost everyone, except for there's a character called Sudhir Babu, the teacher guy.
Yeah.
So he's actually a theatre teacher.
Okay.
But he himself, in real life, he's a very expressive person. Like, as in, he gesticulates too much. He's very he takes his hands too much. His eyebrows would go everywhere and all. So I had to contain him. So then he was the only person whom I really changed, where I told him that you are a chemistry teacher, you're teaching in a school, and I asked him to wear formals, and I asked him to insert it, and I said, don't move your hands and stuff, and just be very calm, composed kind of a guy. So he was worked around in a very different way. Apart from that, almost everyone played themselves in terms of the way they would deliver a dialogue or how their body would move and all. So yeah.
Did anyone ask you about why this cast only has one woman and the main characters? And but I think there was already the answer given. When there's a conversation with the journalist in the beginning. The guru says, the play is like that.
Yeah.
And I think I remember the line. You can expand on the possibilities and suggest you structures the playwright allows you to.
Yeah.
So that itself is the answer to
that itself is the answer, because like I said, the story was built around the cast, and even actually there are plays like that. I was part of a play called Karnabaram in Logadarmi, where it had 13 men and 1 lady in it. So there are plays like that where the play demands that there is only one character in it. So that is how this story also happened. Where actually so many people have asked me, why didn't you cast more women in the group and the whole discussion thing? If it had one more lady or a couple of more women in it, that is true. See, then that would be a different story. How I conceived this as an all-men group in the discussion, because how men talk when in the absence of women is very different from how men would talk if there was at least one lady in it. So they wouldn't go to they wouldn't make some obnoxious statements, or we all know how men would talk.
They make jokes and dirty
jokes. They would make jokes, and they would go they would make all so-called politically incorrect statements and all in the absence of women. So if there is a woman present, there is a certain awareness. We all know, even when we say, body jogs, we are aware that, if there is a woman, we don't go to a certain zone. So I wanted that, that in the showcase how in the absence of women, how men would talk and stuff like that. So it is possible that if we could have cast more women, then it's a different story, that's a different narrative.
Yeah. I'm sure that this movie made a lot of men uncomfortable, because this whole all men idea, right? And I'm sure there are people who ask, why not add a male character who's standing with her, after all this, considering the events, how they progress and all that. And also, why not add a female character who's also, allied with the men,
Right.
Going by their decision. So is that something also that?
See, these are things that personally I have not thought about when I was writing and all. See, once you make the movie and once it is out, everybody takes the movie in their own perspectives, and they would mix it up with the social scenarios, political scenarios. They will read it in ways which you might never have, intended at all, or even it might go to zones where you've never thought that it will go. So, whatever this is, I have not thought about the movie personally, I've not thought about the movie as something that would, what political statement this movie is going to make. Oh, I really was thinking about how to make a compelling story. So when, especially like, it is a spoiler, of course, but when this girl eventually makes that statement that, when she tells the culprit in the play that, it doesn't make a difference. Like, for me, you and the other 11 are one and the same. She's not saying you and all the other men in the world are one and the same. She's just talking about her experience with the people in that group. She's not talking about,
Exactly.
she's not talking about a larger group of men or anything of that sort. So even I have not conceived it like that. It is not. I am not there to make any statement, to the world. This should be your takeaway or anything of that sort. It's completely her experience with that particular group of people. That the statement is made for the story. She is not trying to send out a message. She's not trying to break the wall of the movie, of the story, and go out to the world and say a statement. She's talking about her experience.
Yeah, and that makes perfect sense because anyone who has like a lot of female friends, they already know that this is an everyday reality for women. Like they go through harassment unless this woman is like locked up her entire life in a house. Even that you can't say for sure. Whether she has not had any bad experience. So, I think a lot of these statements, like, from the men's side, who say, okay, not all men, it comes from ignorance, right? Because they have not had that experience, they have not spoken to these women. I think so. In that sense, your the stand that your movie took, it makes sense.
And even the men in the movie,
like
they're, of course, they're not like aligning with her, but there is a gradation. There is a difference in how much one character says this is all tactile hallucination, and how somebody keeps quiet. Nobody is aligning with her, but there is a different in degree. And there is even before there's this character, the character of Santhosh. Before it is revealed that this whole thing was a prank, he actually goes through a transformation. That is like how everything is very subtle. Even that part is very subtle in the movie, where he says that, I think we are the biggest buggers in the whole world. I think what she said is true. Either it is Hari or somebody from within us. This has happened. He says this much before it is revealed that it is a prank. You understand? So he goes through a certain transformation, but it is too late. She's not knowing about it. So actually there is a person who is going through a transformation, who is moving towards her, who is aligning with her, but it is too late. It will not make any use for her. Because she has gone through the whole, auditing and the same harassment or a bigger harassment.
Exactly.
So
even when it comes to that auditing, I think that's like a very complex scene to shoot, right? Especially since this woman is being put through a lot. And did you have any concerns about, did you take any feedback from, some of the women that like to how to go with this scene? Because a lot of questions are being asked,
Yeah. Actually, I didn't. I have not spoken. Probably with while doing the scenes or like something. You work with Zarin. With Zarin, you work with how you would perceive this emotion. Like if something like this is said to you, what would be your inner feeling, and how will you deal with the turmoil and those stuff. But the script was not necessarily discussed with a lot of women because I think because I have had a lot of interactions with women prior to the movie, not about the movie or for the script, but generally because I've had a lot of friends in my life who are women, and you have a sense of things, and that is how you write a script also. Like it's not always like suddenly there is a character which you have not known and suddenly you go for a huge research or something. You have a bank inside your head where you can draw from. So I didn't discuss with other,
Because I think I remember one event where a woman asked you, like, because a subject like this is being, commercialized or something, and you also have to, as a filmmaker, you have to think about the cinematic element, the drama. And it's very complicated when a man is writing a subject like this. The male gaze gets involved, and so that's why I asked you that.
I had a very interesting interaction with one lady, which I don't want to take her name, but she's a very famous lady. She came to me and told me that it was a wonderful movie. I loved Aatam. Such detailed introspection of the harassment and what women go through. I'm only sad that this is made by a male filmmaker. I said, why are you sad about it? She says, no. If it was a woman, we could have celebrated it all the more and all. I don't understand that perspective. I don't understand why people would think that men cannot write these things. It's just that men have been desensitized.
Yeah.
So we have to work around how to sensitize men to understand women, much better. So that requires a lot of other things as well. Like it calls for greater upbringing, greater school education, having great friendships with women. So I think it's not about what gender made the film. It's about the film.
Yeah.
Anybody can make it. It is really not about the gender of the filmmaker.
That also, I think, applies to class. Like they used to say about Satyajit Ray, right? He was born in a certain class, and he shouldn't make movies like poverty and But I think any filmmaker who has a good understanding, can do that. Obviously, there are going to be criticisms.
Of course, every movie will have its flaws, because as a person, it's a human being who is doing a work of art. Like you take any work of art, not just cinema, it'll have the flaws or the shortcomings or the spaces where it is not fully explored, because it is done by a human being who is also flawed and who's always evolving. So maybe 10 years down the line, if I look into Aatam, I might find bigger problems in it where I could have approached. So that flaws is also very important for any work of art.
True.
That is one thing that will make the work of art breathe. Otherwise, it'll be if it is done by some AI which is absolutely coded and perfectly written.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And the other interesting thing about the casting is because all these other except Shahjahan and Vinay Fort, everybody else are like comparatively newcomers. I mean, Sareen, of course, has acted in other films too, but rest of them you don't have any preconceived notions, right? But with Kalabaman Shahjahan, you already know, like he's done a lot of these villainous characters. People tend to think, okay, could he be the, and with Vinay, you know that he can play any role, unpredictability, grey characters. Is that how you came about deciding, like, casting Kalabaman, Shahjahan and...
Shahjahan, yes, that particular role, like Kalabaman, that particular role of Harry, he's there in the first 20 minutes. Then he comes at a certain point and then he comes towards the end. So he just has a screen space of, say, hardly 15 minutes. So I wanted somebody from the industry who is well known. That will only relate to the Malayali audience, of course, but some from the industry who will come and make an impact, and people will remember this person, his face, because the entire story is revolving around his, talking about him and her and all. So it had to be somebody from the industry who's well known and also who's a great actor and who has a certain image also helps, because that'll keep them in that zone. Okay, this is the guy, he has done it. But the great, and like how Shahjahan was casted is also, it has got different dimensions, because like I had a few options, like 3-4 options, and I was discussing with Vinay saying that these are the 4 options, and he was like, don't think about other options, because take Shahjahan, because he is the most easiest person to work with. Because we had a smaller budget and it was I want somebody who wouldn't come and disturb all the other actors, because they were very new to cinema, and all the fundas of cinema they were totally unaware of. So I wanted somebody who would come and easily gel with all these people and become part of them. And so Vinay was very sure that your best option is Shahjahan. You just go meet him, then you'll understand. So I went and met him and I narrated the story, and the kind of interaction we had for 1 hour, I knew that he is the most problem-free person, apart from being a great actor, to be cast. And I felt he did an amazing job. Like how he was very quick to understand that this movie is being done the acting meter of this movie is different, and he quickly caught it. And his character was also slightly interesting, where he's also playing a movie actor. Yeah. And I told him that whenever you are with these people, you are aware that you are a movie actor. You want to show dominance. So your action, your acting will be slightly cinematic also.
Yeah.
So he pulled it off nicely.
I think a lot of people also brought in how this character is like a mirror to someone else, in the industry. We don't want to bring up any names, but it's like how he's bringing in the money, and also like they have some, all these favors. They have something to benefit from it, So that naturally they would, in the end behave like this,
Yeah.
So that is like drawing from real life,
Yeah.
Did you have anything like that, or?
Actually not. Like honestly speaking, I was not taking any inspiration from any given scenarios. You're aware of so many problems, like so many issues, but it was not from one particular issue or anything of that sort. But once the screenplay was finished and once we had the reading session with all the actors, then everybody was telling me that, see, this is going to be a huge reading, that people are going to connect this particular story to be inspired, or to have a lot of relation with the existing issue in the Malayalam film industry, or a particular incident. I said, so be it.
Yeah.
Let people read whatever they want to, as long as you are not trying to force fit things, or you are not trying to, like I said, break the wall and indicate that this is what I want, or this is what you should be thinking. I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
But it was actually not inspired from any particular incident.
Okay, good. No, I also liked some like little details, like how Anjali's friend, tells her that her daughter is not feeling well, so we are not putting on the AC, and that led to Anjali opening the window and this incident happening.
Yeah. Because like in life, that is so. No?
Yeah.
All chaos begins with the reason, the structure that leads to a chaos is always very weird and illogical and silly, and you would never think that, oh my God, this led to this. One simple action of she was having a fever and cold, and then they had to switch off the AC, and then
Open the window.
Open the window, and then that led to a chaos. Because personally in my own life, something like that has happened with my brother. Like when he was studying in college, like he was supposed to come back home. Like he was in Tiruvalla and we were staying in Kochi. So he went, and they were like staying as paying guests. There were a few of them, like friends, were staying in a house, and they were planning to leave the house because there was hartal in the college, and they were all planning to go back home. And they were planning to take a bath, and then there was no water. And then they went on, they thought they'll switch on the motor, and there was no current. And then, so my brother, who never knew swimming because there was a river flowing close by, so he thought that he will go and take a bath in the river. But he was drowned and he passed away. So the incident that led to his death is also like, there was sand mining and all like happening in that particular river. So he was drowned into that, that well of a thing, which was sand mining, and some illegal activities were happening. So, but the actual reason that led them to the river was there was no current. And if there was current, if the motor was working,
you could have avoided.
This would have never happened.
Yeah.
So that is something that I took inspiration from. That how a very normal looking thing, a very silly thing, in the structure of it, in the peripheral structure of it, could lead to a bigger chaos.
Yeah. Like that, there's another detail I noticed. I don't know whether it's if you designed it like that, because there's a scene where these people are getting together for the first time, all these men, and somebody talks about, why are you giving me this coffee in the steel cup? And the other person can't stand him. And in the end, there's another character who slaps him, the guy who asked about the coffee.
Yeah.
And you start thinking about this discrimination, that like these are also like little details that
because I also wanted to show that there's this ongoing rift between those two characters, because Santhosh's character, his ex-girlfriend is Nandan's wife, so there's a undergoing some undercurrent, some tension is going between them. So he feels that whatever he does is some sort of discrimination, and because he gets the coffee in a steel glass, he feels that it is discrimination. He would voice it out, and so these are like smaller things which would eventually add up to the tension there.
So the other interesting thing I noticed is how it also depicts how like art's therapeutic value, and how Anjali uses that final play to deal with that trauma.
Right.
Did that something that like occur to you as a in
Yeah, like I think it occurs to everyone, right? Like how each and every person would deal with a certain trauma. It could be anything. Is different, right? Like how they would want to come out of it. Like I said, just now I talked about my brother's death. So like how my mother dealt with it was like she eventually went on to start a play school. Like then she started interact, because for 2 years she was really really depressed, and she was going through a very tough time. And then she started a play school with just one kid. Then it went on to have 5, 10, and there was a point where she used to have 30 to 35 kids. And like in the last 15 years she has taught about say 500, 600 kids. And so that's how she came out of the trauma of losing her own son by having more children in her life.
Oh, okay.
Like, so how each people would come out of it, I'm not saying that necessarily there is a certain way.
Yeah.
So this is what the character, this is the route that the character took. Like, because she's also an artist, her creative brain would always be working, because she's been part of a theatre group for 15, 16 years. So actually creative people know, people who are in art know that in whatever situation you are there, like one side of your brain is always looking for the art side of this. Like, it's a very weird situation. Even when you're at the funeral, like if I talk about myself, even if you are at a funeral of somebody very close to you, your one side of your brain is always looking for themes and situations for your or scenes, or how like you're looking, somebody might just become a character. What somebody said would even just be there in your head, like, okay, this can go into a scene, this would make a good scene. So your brain is always working like that for say for somebody who's actively participating in art. So she being an artist, when she came out of that house, and when she was when she knew what Vinay was also, then she's completely out of that group. Now she has a great sense of objectivity of the entire thing, and her brain is now, something is kicking in, and that's when she smiles. And at that point there is a flash of thought where she feels that such drama has happened, that this is potentially a play in itself. What has happened to her is also a play in itself.
Yeah.
So that is when she smiles. And so she comes out of it, comes out of the whole trauma, and she wants to say something through that play also. So that's how we decided, like, let her do a play, and we can achieve the climax that we intended for also.
Yeah.
Like, if the same incident had happened to her from a different set of people, if she was, molested, in a bus or by some stranger, this would never be her response.
Yeah.
She would have maybe slapped him, or she would have went on to a police station, or, something else would have happened.
Yeah.
Because this happened from a very close-knit group, then this is her response.
She's conflicted about whether to go to the police station,
how, even for her to just gather things of what has happened to her, because the entire trust is gone. Like, suddenly it becomes very meaningless. Like, what she has been going through what she believed was a safe space for the past 15 years, now suddenly it is not.
Yeah.
So you lose meaning. You lose, the structure of what to do, and how to approach this, and that is why she initially says that I would rather leave the group. I don't want to be part of the group.
Yeah.
That's what she believes, and she doesn't want people to know about it, because she doesn't want that something like this. Doesn't want to believe or be reminded that something like this has happened, because she knows that once she believes in it, then she would lose trust in people, right? When something like this happens to somebody, from say almost in most cases it happens from within the family. Like, I've spoken to a lot of people, a lot of women, where they say that most often than not this happens from very close-knit groups, and most of the time from the family. Then you're like, you lose trust in people. You don't know whom to believe in. So there is, like in psychology, how they say that there is a state of shock, and there is a state of denial. So in that state of denial, you don't want to believe that this has happened. That's when she says to Vinay that I'd rather leave this group, because I don't want people to talk about this. But then eventually you, as and how you gain more objectivity, then that's when you start taking action on your trauma.
Yeah. And I think your psychology background also came in handy while writing this.
I did, I hope.
Okay, so there is this way that Anjali reacts, right, at the bus stop, and she starts laughing. Did you think of any other alternative way to?
No, that whole reaction was decided just on the previous day
Oh, okay.
of the shoot, because I was your immediate or your immediate reaction to a statement like what Vinay said would be to slap him. Like I was like, okay, I thought that Anjali would just look at him in shock and maybe just slap him and walk away. But then I thought, see, that is something that the audience are going to expect, and that is something that the audience would want to do. Like they would want to slap him, give him one. But then, how can Anjali react in a very different way? Like then I thought from like it's too big a statement to say that I was like trying to feel her. Like something like this, that your closest relationship, it's a very complex relationship with what she has with Vinay. Even when he disowns her, then for a moment it goes beyond shock, and I thought that let her just laugh and just walk away. Like
Yeah.
just laugh at the entire, maybe she's just laughing at the entire, entire relationship that she had with Vinay, and how stupid she was, or maybe she's laughing at how wonderfully she got to understand this guy. Maybe all these things led to a point where she got to understand him. Otherwise, she was going to live with him after he got divorced. She was supposed to marry him, and that whole incident revealed him so much that she was saved from a toxic relationship from further ahead. So
Yeah, I saw a lot of people saying that we want to slap Vinay Forts.
yeah. So they're doing it. So I thought might as well go to a space where Anjali does something different. And
There's an interesting use of like how you use sound, for example, even in that bus stop scene, that Vinay is revealing, okay, there's something happened, and then you show the sound of a bus passing, you cut to the next,
Cut to the
instead of
point.
showing that.
Yeah.
Was that the concern of the duration, or is it like you
No,
just
that was
kept it?
already there in the script, because because that's something that already the audience
audience
has
knows,
already knows what that event was, and so you don't want him to be talking about that. So, but you also want a certain structure where that's one place, you cannot go to a different scene and come back also. So we thought like use of sound where if there is a vehicle that just passes by, and then you cut to a different position where they're standing, and then the dialogue starts with, okay, so that was it. So yeah, there are a lot of people who liked that cut, and
Yeah. And since the culprit is not revealed, did you have any concern about how some people would perceive this as a suspense thriller or mystery? And but that's not the intention of the film.
Yeah.
And also, like, it's interesting when you think of how these actors can also act in real life. They can put on a different persona.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like they'll be hiding their true selves. And
So like one interesting part of writing the screenplay was like whenever I write a dialogue, I would look that same dialogue in two dimensions. What if this character is guilty? What if this character is innocent? In both ways, this dialogue or this action should look meaningful. You understand? Like, imagine like Selvan did this. So like how you said, like because they're also actors, they can put up real good acting in real life. They can confuse, they can show themselves as, absolute saviors, and, like, criticizing Hari, or even to an extent where, they would say, no, let's not criticize Hari. We want proof. Even if he is the person who has done that, you can put on an act like that to save yourself. So I would look at every dialogue in a way where, okay, if this guy is the one who did it, if he's guilty, does this dialogue make sense? Okay, if he's absolutely innocent, does this dialogue make sense? So it has to work both ways. So that was a very interesting and challenging part of the screenplay. And obviously, there are a lot of people even now who are very disappointed with the fact that, eventually we didn't show who that particular person was who did it, or, we are just leaving a lot of, clues and stuff to go to certain people. But eventually, even if you take one person and you find there are a lot of cues to believe that this is the person who did it, but then again you will go and hit a wall where there is a dead end. No, you cannot connect. You are not fully convinced that this is the person. There could be another person.
Yeah.
So yeah, there are a lot of people who are very disappointed by the fact, but that was not the point of the movie.
Yeah.
Because once you show a certain person, then everybody are free of that guilt. You know, everybody is like everyone else is a saint, and you point
exactly.
that particular person is the only wrongdoer. Of course, that particular person is absolutely a wrongdoer, but the auditing of the crime, that was the whole point. How the auditing of the crime from a very close-knit group who refuse to believe. And why are they not believing? Because they want a certain, reward. You know, it is not because they really want to know the truth.
Yeah, they want to look pure in front of her.
The problem is not that they are asking her questions. The problem is not they are like, asking for proofs. The intention behind asking all those things is to come to a point where her statement is disregarded and to believe that this has not happened, because so that they can go guilt free to the European trip. So the intention is the problem. So then the whole auditing becomes a crime in itself. It is, if not, it's equal to the crime that has already happened to her, or else it is even a bigger crime. So that was the whole point of the movie.
And you approach this film like a psychologist, and you also have a psychology background.
Right.
And how did that help in coming up with like a lot of these layers? And like when writing the script,
like, to be very honest, the degree that I have in psychology is not something that I think has helped me a lot, because but generally I have an interest in even before I took up psychology as a degree or something, or even now, every moment, I have a lot of interest in human mind and human behavior. So I've been observing people, and not just people, I've been observing myself, how your own mind functions at every given scenario. So like how your mind functions when you are, when you're nervous, or when you want something, when there is a desire involved, when you're very calm, or, so in different scenarios, your mind works in different ways and with different people, and how hell a lot of conditionings are there right inside you, and how you're operating from a very subconscious, unconscious space. So that observation has really helped, about myself and about the people around. Over the years, there has been a lot of observations. So I think when you write, these things come. It's not like I have a diary of, observations, and I have a thesis of people or anything of that sort. Or it's not like I refer Freud or Jung before I write. It's not like that, not at all. But probably these things have helped.
Yeah, that's what good art should do. No, it should reveal something about yourself and also other people.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So, what are you working on next?
Next is something that it's a love story. One is a love story, and other one is another investigative drama, but in a different scenario. So I have to, finally fix on one and start writing. Still, I'm just revolving around the idea of it and all. So I want this to be something very different from Aatam. Yeah.
Okay, so wishing you all the best, and thank you so much for this stimulating conversation.
Thank you so much, Sajin. Wonderful.
GT Holidays, South India's #1 travel brand.
GUVI, a vernacular edutech brand, skilling everyone everywhere.